Sometimes a lot of people recommend an album to me, a lot of you viewers, and I don't always know why. Like sometimes I have to dig into it and try to figure it out. So a lot of you wanted me to review Manning Fireworks by MJ Lenderman, and so I kind of I don't know, was he a part of some bigger band? No, that's not it. And I asked my teenager, is he a TikTok thing? And she said no. And then usually when that's the case, I look into it and it's sort of one of Fantano's musicians, a musician that he really triumphs and loves. And there's a lot of overlap between my audience and his. I mean, a lot of people who watch him watch me, not always vice versa. But apparently that's not true. I looked it up this morning. I guess he just reviewed this album and he gave it a 3. So that's not the case. I think, and this is going to be kind of a radical perspective here, I think you all wanted me to review this album because it's really, really good. That's it, because it's just great music made by just some dude from Asheville, North Carolina, some 25-year-old dude who just made a really good album that sounds good, that's interesting, that's fun to listen to, all of that. So I had a couple of framing devices for this album, and I wasn't really sure which one to choose. So I thought I would discuss both of them for you before landing on my sort of final framing device. So the first one I was thinking of was really focusing on the cover. Okay, that the cover itself is a beautiful encapsulation of what the album is. It's sort of are these just working class dudes? Are they hipsters imitating working class dudes? It's hard to figure out who they are. It's sort of ugly with this green color, but then it's also kind of beautiful with this fire going through. And it's really something to be said when an album can be perfectly matched by its album cover. But that isn't what I went with. Instead, I can't help it. Okay, I am an absolutely lunatic Neil Young fan, and that's what I landed with. I just realized it's the promise of the Neil. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor. If you don't know why I'm in my backyard, why I'm in my bathrobe, it's a whole thing that's been going on here. I've been too... people if you're a YouTuber, consistency is key. And so I was 3 to 4 album reviews a week, every week for the past 6 years. And then I have a second baby, and I got the toddler, and everything's too busy inside. So I have to record outside, so I'm not too loud. I have my baby monitor with me. My 2-year-old is actually actively moving around. She's not crying. If she starts crying, I'm going to stop the video. And I don't know what. I guess I'll edit it together or something. We'll see. It's very exciting. So why do I call it the promise of the Neil? Well, for one, that's kind of a joke of one of Neil Young's current bands, The Promise of the Real. But really, it's a lot of people get compared to Neil Young, especially if you have an idiosyncratic kind of whiny voice. But I don't think that's what I mean. I don't actually really mean that he sounds like a dead ringer for Neil. At times he does, but that's not what it is. It's that he has the sort of lyricism and the kind of slackery, flanneled likability. He has a sort of human, attainable greatness. That's why. I mean, if you don't know the story, when I was in high school, probably 50% of all the music I listened to was Neil Young. I just listened to it all the time. He was absolutely my guy. Okay. Much like Neil, he has sort of a rough voice, but it's one that you underestimate. People underestimate Neil Young's voice all the time. They sort of anyone can sing like him, No, it's actually really strong, and I think the same thing here with MJ. Not Michael Jackson, MJ. It's also, I'll get into the music a lot more, but what I like is that it's not so much that it's 70s Neil, okay, which is his most popular period. Nor is it 80s Neil, which is his least popular period, which I love as well. But it actually reminds me more of what I actually grew up with, which is sort of 90s Neil, where you have albums like Broken Arrow, one of his rock albums, and I'd compare that to, say, Silver and Gold, one of his country albums. And what Neil Young can do better than I think any other sort of rock artist is be rocking, but in a way that's not too rocky, rock. It doesn't have that sort of cock rock, classic rock swagger. That has a kind of gentleness. That has a kind of sensibility that it makes sense why he ended up being the primary influence on grunge music. The way that grunge music is rock and roll, but sort of isn't, is the same thing that Neil can do. And then the same thing with country. You know, he's just some dude from Canada, you know, a little town in Ontario, right? Like, and with that, he's able to like make country music that isn't country, that has a lot of the trappings, you know, the pedal steel, the maybe like the style of percussion, whatever it is, but he's able to mix those together. So that's kind of the feeling that I have. And this is, as a Neil Young superfan, like the largest compliment I can give you as an artist. Because anyone can hear someone whine and say, oh, that sounds like Neil Young. But to say it reminds me of a feeling of Neil Young in the 90s, that right there. Also kind of like Neil Young when it comes to his lyricism, just him in general. I love Neil. I just explained that. But you often wonder, like, is he deep or dumb? Shout out Wisecrack. Like, is he like really sophisticated and just working at this really high level, or is he kind of a burnout who just throws together the word love all over the place and makes these songs that move you despite the fact they might not be as deep as you think they are? I don't know. I get that sense from Lenderman as well. Oh, another thing about me being out here is I'm sort of in a permanent fight with the birds. Here, I'll put this so you can see the bird feeder. Maybe there'll be some action. Also, sometimes when you watch my videos, if you scrub them fast, you can watch the sunrise. It's kind of nice, you know? Make sure she's not screaming. No, she's good. She's just rolling around like a crocodile. I do think that he works really hard as a songwriter. I really enjoy that. I mean, I think he has sort of a slacker aesthetic, but I think he works hard for it. He does, like Neil Young, at times venture into the Dylan-y area of lyric writing. You know, like he has lyrics about, like, the circus. You know, so sort of he has a sort of element there to his songwriting. Also, my 16-year-old daughter, who's actually getting ready for school, so I'm like, she's in the background behind the camera. She made herself some toast. I got all sorts of stuff going on here. I don't know. Do you like this backyard stuff? I'm starting to like it. You know, I see all these YouTubers with their studios and their ring lights, and I do get jealous because they can record anytime they want. But, you know, you can't facsimilate whatever the hell's going on here. So my daughter insists that I point out that he says the word jerk a lot. So we listened to this album a bunch over the last week. It's actually funny. Not only am I too busy, but Kendrick, I'm stuck in a Kendrick loop. A lot of people on YouTube are stuck in a Kendrick loop where all we can do is address things related to whatever the hell Kendrick is doing right now. Kendrick just opened his mouth. YouTubers make 1,000 videos right now, you know, that kind of thing. So this album I've been planning on reviewing for a week. So normally I listen to an album for 2-3 days. This one I've been listening to for 7 days. So it's really kind of soaked into the wood. You know, it's a stain, not a paint. So yes, he says jerk a lot. Her impersonation of his music is just bring, jerk, jerk, jerk. You're a jerk, you're a jerk. But I want to go even one step further with the whole Neil thing and talk about, like, he doesn't just remind me of Neil. He reminds me a lot of that generation of artists in the 90s who were inspired by Neil. And for that, I want to get one of the more obscure Neil CDs I have, The Bridge, a tribute to Neil Young, which really establishes just how influential he was on the 90s. Because this came out in 1989. And it has Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr., of course, Pixies, Flaming Lips. Okay? I do get a lot of Dinosaur Jr. on this as well, Jay Mascis. If you've seen my review of Dinosaur Jr. before, I was traumatized because I was in a band and our singer, I think he was great. A lot of people didn't like him. And back in the 90s, if you didn't like a band, if you didn't like their singer, you'd say, you know, you guys remind me a lot of Dinosaur Jr. I don't know. We're all from Boston. Who knows? But that sort of feeling. And I would throw a little bit of Pavement on there as well, just for that kind of... But, hey, it sounds like I'm just saying this is some kind of Captain Marvel 90s abomination of influence mashing. It isn't. That's the thing. I think you, the auditor, the person, whoever it was that recommended this, but I don't know, maybe 10 of you who recommended this to me. Like, I think what you hear and what you're hearing is not just somebody who got along with his parents and listened to the CDs and decided to make music like it. It feels like an authentic expression, not just calling back. It happens to be that the authentic expression... Is that a goldfinch? I'm sorry, I'm way too ADD to have a bird feeder in the back. Jesus. You know that joke, squirrel? That's like legitimately me. I love squirrels. Finally, we get to the lyrics. And when I was listening to this album, I can't go to the gym anymore. I'm too busy. So I listened to this album while pushing my daughter. I went for a walk, and I have a 2-year-old, and so I was just going around walking with her. And I was listening to this album, and I was like trying to write down the lyrics. So I'm like pushing a stroller with one hand with the headphones on, and I'm like trying to type up the lyrics that I like, and like my wrist was getting sore. I was getting tired of writing down all these lyrics because there's so many lyrics to write, because so many lyrics are just so good. So that's great. That's a very, very good sign. So I'm not going to just read all the lyrics to the album, but they are all good enough that I sort of could. So I'm going to give you a stamp here with the song Wristwatch. You can click above the bird feeder. This just has everything I love about the album. Great cascading, descending guitars, again, reminding me of a sort of 90s era Broken Arrow E, Sleeps with Angels E, Ragged Glory E, Neil Young style. That's a chickadee. But the drums are like really muted and satisfying. By the way, I don't know, I haven't watched any other reviews of this album, I'm pretty sure. I'm the only one who said that's a chickadee. The drums are muted and really satisfying, but even though it's got this electric guitar, it also has this pedal steel, and that's that thing. That's that sort of synergy that I'm talking about between these different styles that very few artists can pull off. I love the simple chords. I love how well assembled it is. I love how well produced it is. I love the way it breaks into the verse, and it's just guitar, drums, and the pedal steel far, far, far away, way, 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 way in the back. And a lot of the themes of the album are being a pathetic dude. Love it. Love it. Pathetic dude. Yeah, I know. We could write about like climate change and stuff, and we could write about like the problems of the world, or we can write about like people who are bad. But this is very much just like, I'm a pathetic dude. And again, maybe that brings me back to my youth in the 90s, where a lot of lyrics were just about being a pathetic dude. But I really enjoy this because this is a pathetic dude in the age of wonder. This song has to be about an Apple Watch. I guess it could be about a Fitbit, but I think it's about an Apple Watch. I had an ex-girlfriend who gave me a Fitbit for Christmas, and that was probably the sign that it wasn't going to work. Man, it was actually kind of nice, because I actually used to have a pedometer because I count my steps, but still, I'm not going to wear a Fitbit. But I love this idea because it's like he's living in this age of wonder, but everything else about him is pathetic. So he has this technological thing which would blow anybody's mind from even 20 years ago. But then in reality, he's alone, and the person who he was with is alone. I got a beach home up in Buffalo, and a wristwatch that's a compass, and a cell phone, and a wristwatch that tells me you're all alone. So it's like the way that this magical piece of technology can connect you to people, can do all these things, but it cannot make up for the fact that you're lonely. Is that the deepest thing you've ever heard? No. Is it the stupidest thing you've ever heard? No. It's simple. It's well written. It's like a nice idea, well executed. I might have to watch Fantano's review. What was he? Did he not hear this? I'm not starting beef, man. I love my colleague in Connecticut, but like a 3. Gee, I'm turning into a YouTube guy. I'm turning into an internet guy. I'm gonna go to his comment section. A 3, bruh. But still, I don't know. You know what it is though? I talked to him about this once because he used to only do positive reviews as well, and he said that the problem was when he started reviewing multiple albums by the same band, he had to compare them against each other, and that's why he started giving negative reviews, which makes sense. So maybe MJ Lenderman's first album is just way better than this, Maybe he was looking for the promise of the Lenderman. Just every lyric is quotable on here, and a great kind of double guitar outro, very Neil Young style guitar, also kind of Weezer-like. It's just great. If you like what you see so far, smash the like bucket, subscribe. You can put AVAA in the comments, and that stands for awesome video as always. I've also been doing, I'm sponsored by Don't Gamble on Sports, especially on your phone. If you have to gamble on sports, go to like a store. Okay, that's what I'll say this year. I'm not going to say don't gamble on sports. I'm saying get a bookie. Illegal gambling, but just don't do it. Okay, I'm not encouraging you to commit a crime, but don't do it on your phone. Okay, it's class war. You always lose. It's encouraging very negative behavior. Okay, play video games on your phone. I just downloaded that Alien video game from 2014 on my phone. You could play Alien Isolation on your phone. World of Wonders. God damn. Last night I was falling asleep. I was like, oh, wait, let me see if that... And I was playing that game. It's so good. Anyways, do that. Don't gamble on sports. All right, I'm going to go through the rest of the album a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit slower from time to time. Manning Fireworks is the opening track. Gentle guitar, this crackling voice, kind of an oompa style. And these opening lyrics. Oh my God, what an opening lyric. Birds against a heavy wind that wins in the end. One of these days with shorts full of sand. Just beautiful images of uncomfortableness. You see the birds... You see the birds and there's in the wind and then the wind beats the birds. Oh my God, one of these days you'll kill a man for asking a question you don't understand. I feel like this is maybe kind of a political thing, sort of about like sort of the conservative mindset or sort of insecure men kind of thing, but it's great. And the fiddle comes in, the drums like a little backbeat, kind of a waltz, great lead guitar. Every verse is good. And I don't know what this song's about. I looked it up, and Manning, North Carolina is a place, but it's 3.5 hours from Asheville. I live outside of Rochester, New York. Toronto is closer. So I don't really know what that is. Sorry, that's the sound of my baby. I have to check. Okay, she's just rolling around. She's not screaming. But she's definitely making noise. Next track is called Joker Lips. Sweet kind of rock, more little 90s style singing. It sounds like maybe like a Roland organ, maybe a 12-string guitar. More just pathetic 90s guy. I love the way he sings this line. Again, it's sort of pavement-y, the way that he's delivering it. Sounds like it's almost like free association, but it's not. Kahlua shooter, DUI scooter with a rolling start on the hill because this morning's trying to kill me. The image of just another loser who gets a DUI and therefore has to take a scooter to work. So he does a Kahlua shooter. I don't know what that is. I don't really drink. It sounds like one of those things that you do where you go, this is great, but you don't really enjoy it. And then just an agreeable lead guitar line and the simple meaning of this chorus. And I love my TV, but all I really want to see is see you need me. Hey, these are good lyrics. Why are these good lyrics? Because it's very abstract. It's very sort of like distanced. I want to see you need me. Like, I don't want you to need me, and I don't want you to see me. I want to see you need me. He doesn't even need her. He just wants to see her need him. The levels of insecurity and patheticness on this album. Ugh. Next track is called Rudolph. I can't explain it, but I hate this song. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if I don't like the name Rudolph. I don't know if it has cowbell. I don't know if it's that I need more cowbell. I might need more cowbell. I don't know what's going on here, but this song, like, I was listening to this again with my daughter, and like we both were just like, ugh. Anyway, I'm not even saying it's a bad song. I like the lyric, deleted scene of Lightning McQueen blacked out at full speed. He does have this cool habit of sort of like making very modern references, which maybe breaks up some of the retro feel of the music. It's great. But then just this verse, how many roads must a man walk down till he learns? Like, it's just a little too clever. I don't know. But then next is Wristwatch, which is my favorite song. And then She's Leaving You, which is great. The little trick on guitar where you do single notes that lead to chords. I love that. I have a very, very specific interpretation of this song. And I don't know anything about this guy. I read this dude's wiki. I know that he was in a relationship with somebody and then he's not with her anymore and he's from Asheville. And I think he went to college for 3 weeks or something. That's all I read. So I don't know about his family life. I read this as an angry song about his divorced dad. That's how I read this. I read this as a child of divorce who's mad at his father and writing a song about his mother leaving his father. That's the way I read it. It could also just be a general thing about a breakup, right? Because at the end, that woman I was talking about, she sings, so maybe this whole song is about their breakup. and the patheticness that he's putting into this is sort of like actually on him. But I prefer the divorce. I see Kirk Van Houten, okay, from The Simpsons. You can put your clothes back on, she's leaving you, no time to apologize for the things you do. Go rent a Ferrari and sing the blues, believe that Clapton was the second coming. MJ? My man. Was that... Were you taking a shot at Clapton? You were? Oh, can we be friends? I've been throwing shots at Clapton since 1991. I've been shooting at Clapton forever. I got someone on my side that, like, this person is so pathetic. Not only do they cheat on their wife, not only do they rent a Ferrari, which, by the way, I almost rented a Ferrari this year in order to do my video about Frank Ocean, but my wife was like, we're having a baby. We need to focus on having a baby. You need to focus on work and not on renting a white Ferrari. No one appreciates me. Obviously, she was right. And sing the blues, believe the Clapton. Like, if you're young and you don't understand this lyric, I don't blame you. Or if you're a musician, but like Clapton, okay, I own like 8 Clapton albums. I actually like a lot of the stuff he did, but I also hate him and almost got into a bar fight once, insulting him. The whole point is this: like, people who think that Eric Clapton is the greatest guitarist are very often the loudest and most annoyingly ignorant music fans that exist. So it's like a specific vision of the blues and rock where it's like shorthand. If he tells me you could easily write like 10 paragraphs about this person, but then say the word and Clapton was the second coming and I understood everything you just said. A cool, kind of out of tune guitar solo, and then this female voice comes in. Maybe this is the person who's leaving him. We've all got work to do. She's leaving you. Next song is called Rip Torn. Damn, fascinating stuff. Rip Torn, if you don't know, is an actor from the Larry Sanders Show. Okay, I know, he's more famous for Men in Black, but have you not seen the Larry Sanders Show? It's on HBO or Max or whatever it's called. Showtime, whatever they call HBO now. It was on that show. He was great on that. But it's this fiddle and piano sound. I love the acoustic guitar. Super Neil-like here. And just this lyric, I guess I'll call you Rip Torn the way you got tore up. I love the simplicity and the goofiness of this, right? Like, it's like a joke. It's like a bad pun. Like, I'll call you Rip Torn, because that was his name. His name was Rip Torn. Very powerful name. He took the power of this guy's name and turned into that. Passed out in your Lucky Charms. Lucky doesn't mean much. So there you go. Again, this very pathetic man who's alone and just there and all torn up. I think he's saying you. I think he's singing about himself. I will say, if you're really pathetic, you're not buying Lucky Charms. You're buying store brand Lucky Charms, like Marshmallow Treasures from Wegmans. I would have my box of Marshmallow Treasures, but I finished it last week. So anyway, if you're really trying to like emphasize someone being super low, man, they're not paying for the real stuff. That's fine. Lucky doesn't mean much. Fiddle solo, more about men and then this one lyric. You said there's milkshakes and there's smoothies. I love this image and this idea. Like, are they different? Are they the same? How are they different? You know, like that one is nourishing and the other is not. But of course, they're both just milkshakes. Don't fool yourself. Anytime you drink like 800 calories, you're probably not doing something that is what your body like wants. I'm not saying never drink a smoothie or never drink a milkshake, but they're the same thing. Go for the milkshake, you know? Okay. You don't know the shape I'm in. Very kind of Neil style again. But what I like is that it settles into a sort of Neil country Harvest Moony silver and gold drum line with this like little brush on the snare, but it starts off with kind of a Casio sound, which is nice and sort of inauthentic, like a little drum machine. I like the way it mixes together, and just every lyric is great on here. There's this like, I thought it was an oboe. Okay, I'm going to do an impersonation of somebody who never knows the difference between an oboe and a clarinet. Okay? I'm done. It's me. I never know when it's an oboe or a clarinet. Can you tell me in the comments, how am I supposed to know when it's an oboe or a clarinet? I know they're wildly different instruments. I know they're played differently. I just never know which one. You could do a supercut if you went through 1,100 of my videos, every time there's ever been a clarinet, I will have said it's an oboe, and every time there's an oboe, I will have said it's a clarinet. It's probably a clarinet because he mentions a clarinet in the song. But just these lyrics. Some say distance grows the heart, but I know sometimes we just drift apart. That's true. Distance doesn't make you grow fonder always. Sometimes it can tear your relationship apart. Everybody's walking in twos, leaving Noah's Ark. It's Sunday at the water park. You know, just this, like the image of this happiness and repopulating the earth and all that. But then actually what's really happening is that he's just lonely. We sat under a half-mast McDonald's flag. Broken birds tumble fly past my window. You don't know the shape I'm in. A beautiful image, the broken birds from the beginning of the album who were going against the wind. The McDonald's flag, making sure that we don't get too sort of pastoral, that we're in some kind of mini mall or whatever. And it's at half-mast because we're in mourning. All of it. It's really good. Hey, that's why you're here. For top level analysis. This is good. Next track is On My Knees. Okay, this right here, this really warms my heart as a Neil Young fan because the drums here, I don't know if he has a drummer or if he plays his own drums. He has to have a drummer. Ralph Molina of Crazy Horse is one of my favorite drummers. If you study drums, you're like, Sky dude, that is the most hipstery, lame-ass thing to say. Ralph Molina is an aggressively minimalist drummer, to the point where you sort of wonder, has he ever practiced? Did he learn how to play like 3 drum lines in 1972, and then he's just playing those drum lines? Well, I don't care. I love his style. I love his minimalism. I think he's a great drummer. I think he's super tasteful. One of my favorite parts of this album, Broken Out, there's a song where, you know, sometimes drummers will play a song on the hi-hat and then they go to the ride, and he goes to the ride like 2 bars too early, and they leave it in. Do you know why they leave it in? 'Cause fuck you. That's why they leave it in. All right? That's punk. All right? Leaving in a mistake that great. Because the take was good. It was a good take, so they leave the take. So this has that kind of Neil Young and Ralph Molina feel, which is a kind of directness, a kind of simple, less poly, sort of buzzy, loud sound that's really nice. Kind of surreal, and every day's a miracle, not to mention a threat of bees nested in a hole in the yard of John Travolta's bald head. I love the way these lyrics take you on all these little twists and turns and turns and twists. It's really nice. John Travolta is bald. He's bald as shit. Finnerty. But he, of course, like, has only let us know that for the past 30 years, but I think he's been bald for maybe 40 years, 50, maybe 50 years. It's possible he's been bald for 50 years. No, 40. But just the way it takes you on this, every day is a miracle, not to mention a threat, bees nestled in a hole in the yard. Okay, so you probably, I don't know. We once had bees in a hole in our yard. It was actually in our walkway. And my poor wife got stung on the foot by a hornet. So, I mean, obviously someone who's been through childbirth is never going to say that's the most painful thing I've ever been through. But she was in so much pain. Those little bastards. Man. And I really like how in the chorus he breaks in these sort of falsetto notes. It's really nice. He goes up high. And just the lyric, is it the quiet hiss? Why do I have to use so many curse words? Why am I swearing all of a sudden? Is it the quiet hiss of a midnight piss or a river turned to a creek? And just the visceral nature of having to wake up and use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and the quiet hiss of that, or the river turned to a creek. There is actually a creek back there. Squeaky creek. Like it's sort of, it's a nice disconcerting assemblage of sounds, of words. And wherever you'll find me on my knees. Again, he's so pathetic. And then he ends with the song Bark at the Moon, which is not actually a reference to the Ozzy Osbourne song Bark at the Moon. We'll get to that in a second. A little bit more idiosyncratic production here. Maybe a little bit more worked at times, the way the guitars work. It actually reminds me a little bit more like Jackson Browne than Neil Young, which is a whole extra level of effort. Nice kind of faraway pedal steel. The verse is a little bit more worked. The whole thing is just kind of working more. Like there's just more work in this song. I didn't say it's better. I said there's more work. And it ends with this great pathetic sound. I'd never seen the Mona Lisa. I've never really left my room. I've been up too late with Guitar Hero playing Bark at the Moon. Ah, woo. So the reason I say he's not making reference to Bark at the Moon is because Guitar Hero, Bark at the Moon, is the final song in career mode of Guitar Hero. And they don't have the actual version. They have like their studio band. Sorry, that cardinal is driving me nuts. It's all right. They have a studio band playing the song and doing an impersonation of it. And what I actually just watched a playthrough. I never really got good at Guitar Hero. I enjoy it. I'm not good at it, so I don't enjoy it that much. But what I love is just this image that he's talking about Mona Lisa. He's talking about... Oh, hey, this is my second sponsorship. When you go to the Louvre, you don't have to see the Mona Lisa. It's really not that impressive. It's really far away. It's a fake that they have, and you have to get in line to see it. Right next to it, like in the hallway leading up to it, is another Da Vinci painting. Madonna on the Rocks with St. John the Baptist and Jesus, and it's got all the same techniques that Da Vinci used for the Mona Lisa, and it's just way more beautiful, and no one's around it, and you can just look at it. So that's the first thing. Okay, that's my first little thing. The other thing is obviously saying he's never really left his room. And what I love about this line, he says, I've never really left my room. If he says I've never left my room, that's an okay lyric, but it's a little bit self-indulgent, and you know it's not true because he's gone on tour. But never really leaving my room makes it symbolic that he's like never really left his room emotionally, spiritually. I've been up too late playing Guitar Hero, playing Bark at the Moon. The same way, if I had not passed out immediately last night, I would have been playing Alien Isolation on my phone, right? And it's awesome. It's like a great image of a very relatable image of just someone. This whole album is just like a dysregulated person who feels like a loser and will tell you about it in amusing and interesting ways. But the real end of the album is 7 minutes of feedback. Now listen, I said I was like a Neil Young super fan, you know, and like real Neil Young super fans. Okay. So in the 90s, he released two live albums, Arc and Weld. Now, Weld was just your standard live album, you know, just live music recorded at different venues. But Arc was literally just feedback. Just feedback. The whole album is just feedback. That's how amazing Neil Young was. I remember reading an interview with Bruce Springsteen back in the 90s where he was complaining that his fans are not as hardcore as Neil Young's fans. He's like, he could put out an album of crickets and people would buy it. And it's true, you know, people would buy it. But of course, I wasn't a big enough fan to buy Arc, you know. I mean, what kind of hipster cool guy do you think I am? Of course I bought Arc. I didn't buy Weld. Yeah, I know what he sounds like live. I think I saw this tour. But this right here, it's just feedback. It's awesome. You really want to clear out a room, put on Arc, all right? And so this feels very much like that, but it's great. It's very agreeable. It's very nice feedback. It sounds warm. That's the thing about feedback, is it can be warm. It can have that warmth. Sorry, I'm getting my Patreons out under here. I think I am going to buy this album because my family generally liked it. You can usually tell when my wife likes an album because she goes, who is this? And that means that she likes it. So these are my Patreons, and they help me to... Oh my God, what happened here? What happened here? So I also do a thing where I tell my Patreons if they would like, I will give them a shout out. All right. So, hey, do you see your name there? You can go patreon.com/Professor Sky, or maybe / do we do backslashes anymore? I need to tape this up some more. And some people wanted a shout out. Jack Dyson, Riley Atkinson, Mig, and their friend. Okay, now it auto-corrected to Cajun, but I remember specifically the name was not Cajun. I want to say it's maybe Cahoon, so I'm going to look this up. So Cahoon or Cajun, I'll at least spell it. Stupid autocorrect. I apologize, you know, I have a name that people misspell all the time. There's an E at the end. When people would, substitute teachers would call on me, I'd say, Sky Payne, that's me, don't forget the E. That was popular. Hajun, Hajun. There you go. Jack McConnell and his old friend Mark. I don't know if his friend is like aged or if it's just has been his friend for a long time, and Sam Mosseri. All right, there you go. So time to do the new feature, which is, what stage is my 2-year-old? Turn up the volume. All right, no yelling. She's definitely awake, though. She's waving her arm around. All right, I'm going to go take care of her. Tell me what you thought about the album, and there's the camera.